When the IRS scandal first broke, Republicans and Democrats cried foul.
If you've got the IRS operating in anything less than a neutral and nonpartisan way, then that is outrageous.
My question isn't about who's going to resign. My question is, who's going to jail?
But now, months later, the outcry sounds more like a whimper. Eliana Johnson has been tracking the IRS scandal for the conservative website and magazine National Review. She tells CBN News 5 months after the IRS admitted targeting conservative groups for extra scrutiny on their applications for tax-exempt status, and despite the president's promises to find out what really happened, it doesn't seem like there's an in-depth investigation underway to get at the truth.
I know from a source in the IRS that people within the IRS have been interviewed by the FBI, though I hear from Tea Party groups that they have not been contacted. Lawyers for the Tea Party and Tea Party groups have yet to hear. So it seems like there is some sort of an FBI investigation happening, though perhaps not an incredibly deep or thorough one.
But lawmakers on Capitol Hill are investigating too, and they've issued subpoenas demanding more information into what they call the inappropriate and disparate treatment of conservative and Tea Party groups.
I have not done anything wrong.
They also reportedly have been negotiating with lawyers for Lois Lerner, who was in charge of the tax-exempt organizations division, but has since resigned. Meanwhile, the legal battles are mounting. The National Organization for Marriage is suing the IRS for publicly disclosing private, protected information about its donors. And the American Center for Law and Justice, representing more than 40 conservative groups in 22 states, has expanded its federal suit, citing evidence that top IRS workers targeted conservative organizations based on their political beliefs. For Johnson, she believes the biggest scandal is the revelation that many officials and agencies who aren't supposed to be involved in politics can't refrain from using their influence against political opponents of the party in power.
Democrats have tried to make this about, was there a White House connection or wasn't it? And if there wasn't a White House connection, then it's not worth investigating and there is no scandal. And that's really not the scandal. The scandal is about the inherent politicization of the federal bureaucracy.
John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
Well, Jay Sekulow from the American Center for Law and Justice is with us. And Jay, what is the deal? The IRS think they can just stonewall this thing and it'll sooner or later go away? Is that their game?
Well, Pat, let me tell you this, and I know there's not a lot in the news right now about the IRS case, but there's going to be very soon. In addition to the lawsuit that we've expanded significantly, including naming the new commissioners that were appointed back under in the last couple of years. So you've got Schulman is now a defendant in the lawsuit. We've added Sarah Hall Ingram to the lawsuit because the information sharing that took place here violates the IRS's own guidelines. Let me tell you what you're going to see in the very near future. You're going to see the chief counsel of the Internal Revenue Service being sworn in to give testimony about what he knew, what his office knew, and what they did when they found out, in fact, this targeting was going on. And what we're finding out, Pat, in this amended complaint, and we were very specific about this, we laid out the factual scenario of the statements made by the president about these C4 organizations, these tax-exempt groups, and then the IRS action within days, meetings that took place at the White House, and then changes in policy at the IRS within days. We've laid this out. And look, in this case, you know, my first job, you remember this, out of law school was with Chief Counsel's Office of the IRS a long time ago. Well, one of my fellow young lawyers in that office is assisting us on this case, Julian Fortuna. We had offices next to each other at the IRS and been friends a long time. And we've got the A-team of litigators here. And look, you got the IRS head of tax exempt, Lois Lerner, kind of taking the Fifth Amendment. The evidence is clear. It's mounting. The emails showing that the FEC was getting information illegally from the IRS, that the IRS officials were sending emails to their personal email accounts. And then you ask yourself, well, where did those go? So this is very serious. But I will say one thing. The FBI has not contacted one of our clients, so I'm not putting too much hope in Eric Holder's decision to open up a criminal investigation. They did say in a pleading that they filed in one of our cases that there is an ongoing criminal investigation, but none of our clients have been notified.
Speaking of Eric Holder, there was an expose, I think, on Sean Hannity a couple nights ago that apparently Holder has said if you give money to the Democratic Party or to Obama, you won't be prosecuted. I mean, is this kind of stuff going on?
I heard about that too. I don't think that's the reality of what goes on within the prosecutorial office, because remember, most of the prosecutions come from the U.S. attorney's offices out in the states. So you can't buy your way out of an indictment. And Eric Holder, I disagree with him on a lot of policy issues, but excuse me, but he's not going to do something like that. Let me say this, though. You take a look at, it was Eric Holder who said, let's open up the criminal investigation here with the IRS, and nothing happened. So I don't put much trust in what the Department of Justice is doing, but I don't think Eric Holder, I didn't hear the statement. If he said it, I'm sure it was in jest. The reality is that doesn't happen. But I will tell you this. The targeting of conservative groups happened, and it wasn't just Tea Party groups. We had educational organizations, pro-life organizations, and if you look at the fact that the IRS is going to be coordinating the enforcement of Obamacare, has to also raise the concern level significantly. And I think with the unbelievably poor rollout and just horrendous rollout of the Affordable Care Act, which appears to be neither affordable or giving much care to anyone at this point, would you look at all of that and the multiple challenges against the Obamacare litigation that's going on now on multiple fronts? We've got 8 cases that we've won, including at the courts of appeals level, and now a lot of them are on the way to the Supreme Court. The reality is, Pat, Obamacare with the IRS engagement, that's not a good situation for the American people.
Tell me the posture of the ACLJ about the Affordable Care Act. There's some of these people who are being targeted. You're going to defend. What's the story?
Well, we've got a number of issues. We have actually filed 8 federal lawsuits throughout the country, around the country, charging and challenging portions of the mandates that are in place. And by the way, in 3 of them, we've already reached the Court of Appeals level. We've won at the at 3 Court of Appeals level. Now, I think ultimately that case is going to the Supreme Court of the United States. Their whole group of those cases are going to go to the Supreme Court. So that's one major challenge. There's another challenge to the state exchange situation where these credits were supposed to take place if states created exchanges, which, as you know, most of the states did not. But yet the IRS came in saying to employers, you still have to meet these minimal policy limits, even though there was no state exchange set up, and we're going to penalize you if you don't. Judge Paul Freeman in the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. 2 days ago allowed that litigation to proceed. So there is litigation, Pat, on multiple fronts on this. And then you take out and just look at the rollout where the government was incapable of getting a website to work. We launched one at the ACLJ that says ICan'tEnroll.com, and I suspect we've got more people that have signed that one, which we're going to deliver to Congress, than have actually signed up for Obamacare.
Jay, what is the press doing with these cases that you've got? I mean, these are some pretty serious things. The malfeasance of the Obama administration is legendary. Why doesn't the press begin to play on it, or are they? Are they finally picking it up?
Well, I mean, you have here, of course, CBN News has done a fantastic job of coverage. Fox News covers it extensively. But you're right. You look in the mainstream media, barely gets a mention. Even when the lawsuits were filed against the IRS or when these mandate cases were moving forward, barely gets a mention. And that's because, in large part, I think what's called the mainstream media, they don't like the narrative because it doesn't look good for the Obama administration. I mean, the president said what the IRS did here was wrong. He was going to get to the bottom of it. And then 4 weeks later, they were calling it a phony scandal after Lois Lerner took the Fifth Amendment and admitted that the IRS was engaged in improper and frankly, illegal targeting. So, the press has been basically a shill for the president here. They've taken the position that they're going to try to keep these stories quiet. Now, so as I said, CBN News, Fox News, and others are reporting it. But the reality is it's not getting the attention it would if this was a Republican under the microscope as the Obama administration is.
Is Lois Lerner going to jail? I know she took the Fifth, but that doesn't necessarily is not exculpatory for all the stuff she did.
I think she's going to end up getting some form of immunity. I don't know that for a fact, but just based on my conversations with lawmakers and people on Capitol Hill, I suspect that she's going to get some form of immunity, and I think she's going to, as they say in criminal cases, sing like a bird. I think she's going to say that she was not the ultimate authority on this, and then it went much higher. And I think what you're going to see, which the evidence is clearly showing, went much higher is right to the Chief Counsel's office of the IRS, and he's one of 2 political appointments within the Internal Revenue Service by the President, the Commissioner of Internal Revenue Service, as well as the Chief Counsel. We've now sued them both. I think that's what you're going to see. So, and she kind of took the Fifth Amendment, Pat. The way she took it back several months ago, it's questionable whether it was a valid taking of the Fifth. But needless to say, I do expect some kind of, I won't be surprised anyways if there's some kind of immunity. This is the amended lawsuit, and it's, you can see it's thick. And this is all the facts that we've got over the last 4 months that have come out with these congressional hearings and Freedom of Information Act requests. So we're ready to go to court. We're in court, and we're waiting to see what the government comes back with as a response.
Appreciate what you're doing. Jay Sekulow, ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice.